Please welcome to the stage Diarmuid Lyng.
Thank you, Wexford. It is such a pleasure to be here. When Irish monks would go and seek out their place of refuge, Fado, they would row down the coast, and on looking for and on finding the place that they felt was most suitable for them, they would what they call ship their oars. They would bring their oars in. And they would give that power over to something else, to a higher power, essentially. So they would ship their oars, and at that point, they would give power over and say, let something else take us. We don't control it from here. And that may be that they were brought back out to sea, in which case they would just continue on their way. Or it may also have been that they were brought into land and they found their place of solitude. Now I'm going to park that because I want to talk about this for a second. We're in Wexford, so we all know what it is a hurl. But for those who don't know, this is the stick that we use in our national or indigenous sport of hurling. Said often to be the fastest field game in the world. I'm not sure if that's 100% true or not, but I'll go along with it. And to me, one of the most beautiful games in the world. And it's more about what we see when we strip back everything that we know about the game. Everything in terms of the organisation of the game. Everything about hurling as an institution in the country. What we see when we just look at the stick. We see that it's made of ash. We see this one is about 35 inches in length, half an inch thick. The grain runs perfectly with the shape of the stick, and the grain is quite close together. So I would say there's going to be a bit of sturdiness to it. And to my mind, all those things are true of this. But I also see a huge amount more. I also see my father's arms coming down over my shoulders to show me how to hold it properly. I see my mother standing at the fireplace telling me that if I don't get upstairs and get into the bath, that she's going to throw it into the fire. I see 4 brothers fighting for the ball on the sitting room floor. I also see club, and I see parish, and I see community, and I see myself getting a chance to represent that, to run out in Crow Park in front of 60 and 70,000 people who are screaming down at the field, and sound, the way you normally experience sound as a constant, changes into this wave after wave after wave of pandemonium. I see travel and getting to have this in places that I never even thought that I would get to myself. In the mountains of Tibet, at Everest Base Camp, in Angkor Wat, to have a hurl in those places. I also see our history and our heritage, and I see our language. Cruthríonn sé mé, we say in Irish. It shelters me. And it has sheltered me as well, because I also see something of a vehicle, something that I used to paper over the cracks of my own self-development. I see the times where I really struggled to grab a sense of myself, where I used it as a crutch in the absence of my own self-acceptance. I see myself going at 100 miles an hour and saying yes to 1,000 things, even though I knew that I just had to say no and deal with one thing. And probably worst of all was the enjoyment that I found in the game, the enjoyment when I started playing the game, when I really, really loved to play, evaporated over time because I became so consumed with having to win, or be consumed with more the fear of losing more than anything else. And that took over to the point where every shot at goal became a journey into the lion's den. And that doesn't end in a good place. That didn't end in a good place for me. It ended in exhaustion and chronic fatigue. It ended in depression, in isolation, and in a disconnection from myself and from the world around me and from the people around me who I love. But the ash tree still sheltered me at that point, because even though this may appear to be inert mass, this may appear to be dead matter, it's not. It's very much alive. It's very much well. And I know that because there's moments that I had in games where the only thing that I could do, the only thing that I had to do, was to step out of my own way and allow my essential self and the essence of the hurl to combine to create magic. And when times were really dark, to know that that was there was such a valuable thing. So why am I telling you this? The ash plant, the ash tree, is in danger of extinction because of the ash dieback. And I think it's very interesting to look at ourselves as a sporting organisation, as a society, what we do with an issue like that, because we're looking at a finite resource and an unlimited demand. We can take the cold economic outlook to it and say that we need 350,000 hurls to meet the 50,000 and to take down 50,000 trees to meet the demand. So that's all we need to be concerned with. As long as we can get that amount up and ready, we can continue our games. Or we can accept the fact that we have a responsibility to something greater than ourselves. We can accept the fact that we have a responsibility to our way of being in the world. And one of the things that I learned throughout all that was that the more I put me ahead of we, the more I lost my sense of enjoyment and connection with the game. And the more, as a society, that we put me ahead of we, the more we lose contact with the joy of living. Now, it's not surprising that we've come to this point, because we're almost 100 years into an ideology, a consumerism ideology, and the heart and soul of that is based on one simple mantra, and that is that you are not enough. And that's not how other cultures look at it. The Inuit people of the Arctic, they have a phrase, they've based their whole foundation, their whole culture on a very different phrase. And it says, be not afraid of the universe. And they're not talking about the universe in space. They're not talking about the scientific universe. They're not talking about something abstract. They're talking about the day-to-day unfolding of our lives. Be not afraid of the universe. Because what they did know was that we are enough. What they did know is that we are more than enough. What they did know is that if we were any more, we would be too much. And so, from my experience to look at it, it seems like the revolution is an internal revolution. That by walking into our wounds, we learn to walk more comfortably outside. As the famous Irish poet and mystic John Moriarty says, when we can accept the wildness inside of us, we learn to accept the wildness all around of us. And I think by rooting ourselves in that, by letting go just a little bit, by shipping our oars at times when we're under pressure, I think that we can root ourselves in something deeper and something more collective and learn once again to walk more beautifully on the earth. Thank you.